Start us off.
So this is our Catapult CDR presentation with Shihan, Christian, Kelsey, and myself, Isabella. Next slide. The project description is the premise of the project is to build a catapult with high accuracy and power with limited resources. Due to our small budget of $10. The auction for priority in purchasing is an event where we took out a portion of our $10 budget and bid on a spot for where we can buy other items to build. It was high risk, high reward kind of thing where we could either try to get the best position or save our money. And during the event, we were given a scenario of an economic disaster that affected the total budget available to us, limiting our options even further. Our budget was cut down by 25%. Next slide. There are two events for the competition, accuracy and power. The accuracy portion of the competition, the teams would aim to 3 targets, one at 3 feet, 4 feet, and one at 5 feet. During the power portion of the competition, the teams will aim to launch a projectile as far as possible with their catapult. Next slide. This is the timeline of all the due dates and events. The project specifications were the catapult needs to be able to launch a half-an-inch gobstopper and be able to hit a designated target, which was a spot on the ground. The catapult must be built using only materials purchased at the auction. The catapult has a cost limit of $10 based on the budget given to our company. The catapult needs to be built using only the materials of magazines, newspaper, notebooks, popsicle sticks, tongue depressors, masking tape, packing tape, duct tape, Dixie cups, 3-ounce Dixie cups, 16-ounce plastic cups, 7.5 soda cans, 2-inch rubber bands and 1/2-inch width rubber bands, and 2 by 1 inch rubber bands. Soda cup, soup cans, plastic spoons, plastic knives, plastic bottle caps, 2-liter plastic bottles, milk jugs, Gatorade bottles, cotton string, pencils, chopsticks, and super glue. We used a fraction of this.
So this was the design that we came up with. It was our number one design after going through 3 different iterations. One of the main reasons we decided to choose this design was because of the costs only being $1.35 to construct. And because of the budget that we had, which was cut down on top of our COVID pandemic that we had, which cut our budget by 25%, also the money we used spending in the auction, we decided to choose a project that was a lot more affordable for us. It's constructed from the list that was just provided by Isabella from 6 different rubber bands, all the smaller width ones, they 1/2 inch, 5 popsicle sticks, 2 pencils, and a plastic spoon used to launch the projectile. Our design itself was 6.5 inches long, 5.5 inches tall, and 3 inches wide. And it launches it by having a stabilized spoon, using the pencils as the base, and the popsicle sticks as a lever arm and the fulcrum for the spoon itself. You pull back the spoon, let it go, and it launches the projectile an estimated 20 feet, and it is not very accurate. Next slide, please. So our feasibility analysis for our criteria that we chose was selected by our team, and all of our parts were documented and in the range of our final budget, and all of the parts in the competition were used from the instructors. And some of the feasibility criteria we had was only using certain materials as listed by Isabella. It should be at least be able to launch the Gobstopper 35 inches. It should be able to hit a designated target at least 1 out of 10 times in a simple test, and it should be able to be used multiple times. That the catapult is not just one use, but can be repeatedly used over the course of the entire competition. Next slide, please. This was the merit analysis. We developed 3 different merit curves, one for cost, one for power, and one for accuracy, based on results from the competition and our own testing as well. And from the costs, we were able to have a very high merit score just because it was a very affordable design that allowed us to make use of as little of our budget as possible, anticipating whatever natural disaster would occur. Our merit curve on power was based on a scale of 0 inches to 20 feet, and our Gobstopper was able to launch it just around 20 feet, so we gave that a full merit score. And then our accuracy as well, it was not a very accurate design, so we gave that a low merit score of only 1. After calculating the weight and the importance of each one, it came to an overall merit score of 5.815, which was very good in terms of our other designs that we also had. And after taking into account our budget that was cut down, it was the best design choice for us to choose for our competition design. Next slide, please. This is our FEMA with all of our potential design catastrophes that could happen during the competition. So one such design fail or flaw would be our catapult over rotating and the projectile is going into the ground. We solved this by building our catapult in a way that it would not over rotate. Our consistency was also a flaw. We were not able to actually design this into our final design on building a consistent stopper. So that was an overlook on our part. But in our list, it was not as severe as if our catapult was not able to launch at all. And that's what we took priority on. So we made sure that there was a certain amount of tension. It was built sturdy enough, and the bucket was not pulled too far back, so as to ensure that the Gobstopper would stay in the bucket the entire time. And a lot of these same design flaws go for not launching it 5 feet, go as far as possible as well, such as over rotating, not rotating at all, it breaks or it falls over. All those flaws we were able to solve in our final design, except for the projectile not being consistent, which had one of the least amount of scores. So we did not take that one into as much consideration as the rest. Next slide, please.
So for our purchase order and economic events, we decided that it would be best to stay under $5, which is half our budget of our initial budget, and ended up spending $4.50 to secure 3rd place in the buying phase. However, due to the economic event that was drawn on our class, our purchasing supplies resulted in a 25% deduction of the original budget. And this brought our initial starting money supply for the entire class down to $7.50 from $10. And our team ended up only being able to spend $3. Next slide. So this caused a major setback for us compared to our design and our proposal. So we ended up only using we ended up using as many materials as we could for our proposal design, but our final materials only included 17 rubber bands, 10 popsicle sticks, 2 pencils, and a plastic spoon. And we had to sacrifice materials like super glue and tape, which we were planning on using in our original designs. Next slide.
So in the end, this was the prototype that we constructed from the materials after the purchase date in class. All the materials are laid out here: the plastic spoon, the pencils, the rubber bands, and the popsicle sticks, all of which we determined were the core materials to make a working catapult. The dimensions are the same as before: 6.5 inches long, 3 inches wide, and 5.5 inches in height. So we conducted 2 tests that we were using to determine our merit criteria, the first of which would be the power testing. We launched a projectile, the Gobstopper, from the catapult 5 times, and the team measured the distance that the projectile landed from the catapult's original position. The entire team was present when this happened. One of the members launched the catapult, one watched where the projectile landed, one measured the distance with the tape measure, so we could know that, and one recorded the data. We did this with 4 people so we could keep accurate results every time, because we wouldn't know if shifting the positions of other people would change how far the catapult will be launching its projectile. So out of those 5 launches, the mean range for the launch distance was 20.04 feet, and all the trials and ranges for all those trials are recorded in this table. We can see that the lowest of all the trials, being the first one, is 17.6 feet, and the largest of all the trials, being the 5th one, is 22.8 feet. These results are consistent with the competition, as our maximum range in the competition was 22 feet. The second test we did was the accuracy testing, as that is the second part of our merit criteria. The projectile was launched from the catapult at a target 5 feet away 10 times. The team measured out the amount of times that the projectile struck the target out of 10 attempts, and then charted it onto the merit graph to create the accuracy. Only 2 members of the team were present, one that launched the catapult and one that recorded the data. The catapult was set exactly 5 feet away using a tape measure and reset every time the projectile was fired. Out of those 10 attempts to hit the target, 1 was succeeded. And we can see the table for the strike rate for every single trial here. On trial 4, the target was struck by a Gobstopper, which gave us a 1 out of 10, which is why our merit score did result in a 1.
So after the competition, or for the power portion of the competition, our catapult resulted in launching a projectile that reached a maximum of 22 feet. And this is a pretty good result for our catapult, since its max distance during our testing trial was around 20 feet. Our FMEA did not come into play, and we would change the way, if we could do this again, we would change the way the spoon was positioned on the catapult in order to produce more torque and launch the projectile further. Next slide. And for our accuracy portion of the competition, our catapult hit 1 target at 5 feet out of all 30 attempts across 3 accuracy tests. This was due to our catapult being designed so that it is a little bit more inaccurate than some of the others. So it ended up not performing as well as a lot of the other catapults in the competition. but our FMEA also did not come into play. And the operators of the catapult should spend more time testing and aiming the catapult in order to improve accuracy. This is what we would do if we had a chance to attend this competition again. Next slide. And again, this is the catapult that we use for the competition. And these are the dimensions. We use all the same parts as our prototype, and it's basically essentially the exact same thing.
And that sums up the presentation. Thank you very much.